The sea, giver of life, provider of stink. When will my ocean return from the war?
Hi folks, this video is a bit different than what I usually do. If you don't know who I am, my name is Mulder. I typically do 1 hour long video essays about whatever I want to talk about. This video is a bit different for two reasons. One of them is that I'm making this video in collaboration with Team C's, who I will talk a bit more about later. And the second of which is that I am sick as a horse. So.
Mia, you may have the plague, but at least you have a powerful voice to record this video with.
Did you know that all human civilization has been based around water? This has been true for even the most early civilizations, as far back as the Akkadian Empire, one of the first empires that have ever existed, all the way up until today. The very first cities ever created were built next to riverbanks because they offer fertile land, plenty of drinking water, a temperate climate, things that we as humans need to survive and thrive in the world. For example, you may have heard of the Fertile Crescent that is based around the Tigris, Euphrates, and the Nile rivers. And ever since the dawn of cities, they have been connected to water. Ever since the dawn of trade, of infrastructure, they have been connected to water. The history of the human race is the history of rivers and seas and oceans. And it makes sense. Water is, after all, essential to human life. And many civilizations have attempted to control the water. The ancient Romans built aqueducts, and even just as far back as 1 century ago, we have diverted rivers, we have laid pipelines, and we have made sure that water will always be available wherever we are. Water is, after all, a huge portion of the Earth's surface, so you may be forgiven to think that we have an abundance of it. But the truth is, we don't. The oceans and the rivers are maybe not limited, at least in a human timescale, but they are fragile. And just as cities and empires have risen around rivers and water and oceans, many empires have fallen because of changes in just that water.
The Akkadian Empire partly fell because of changing weather currents, leading to the fertile rivers of the Crescent not being as fertile anymore. A similar pattern happened to the Neo-Assyrian Empire several thousands of years later. And while civilizations don't collapse because of changing climate these days, well, let's see about that, it's still early days. It does still affect us, and in recent history, it's us that's doing the change. For example, in the 1850s, large urban centers were still centered around rivers and the ocean. But the problem this time was humans dumping their waste into said rivers. Water has always been a convenient place to throw our trash because it seems to go on forever, but of course it doesn't. Rivers especially are limited, to the point where London in 1858 endured the Great Stink when the River Thames stank of waste and pollution, as well as leading to huge epidemic and health concerns. It was so bad that the curtains at the Houses of Parliament were soaked in lime to hide the scent of stink. Which brings me to the modern day, because still today, most of humanity lives in extremely close connection to rivers and oceans, and it is still changing. Ever since the invention of plastic, the ocean has begun to fill up with it, bit by bit, because it doesn't degrade. And once it is in the ocean, it winds up in marine life and in ecosystems that are either in or depend on rivers and oceans. And once there, it works its way into the food chain, and eventually, to us. The effect of this is hard to measure, but it's not a good thing. It impacts everything from marine life to birds, to coastal communities to inland cities, and from whales to microscopic life. Because the ocean is so important as a source of food, as half of our source of oxygen on the planet, it makes sense that we should maybe take care of it.
Now obviously, there's a lot more to tackle here, right? It's not just pollution in the water. And I'm not saying that there are any easy solutions here. But there are some things that we can do that are good, or at least less bad. And I think that one thing that is good is to make sure that the water around us, that both we use and the entire Earth uses, will at least be clean, or at least cleaner. And in general, I think less trash in the oceans is a good thing. And obviously, we can't just rely on individual action here. One individual going down to the beach to clean it up is not going to change the world. But thousands and thousands and thousands of individuals can make a difference. And this is what brings me to Team Seas.
Team Seas is an initiative by Mr. Beast and Mark Rober working with the Ocean Conservatory and the Ocean Cleanup to attempt to remove 30 million pounds of trash from our rivers and oceans. Every dollar is, hopefully, going to lead to 1 pound of trash being properly cleaned up. 30 million pounds is 13.5 million kilograms, by the way, for anyone who doesn't get freedom units like me. 100% of the money raised will go to help clean up the oceans. But is this going to solve the ocean? Probably not. But I still think we should do it.
As I mentioned, I don't think this is going to offer the entire solution, but I think it can be a good thing. But some people will argue that these types of solutions might not actually be good. Maybe these types of events or charity drives actually distract us from what is most important. And I want to tell you here, if you have those concerns, that they're not actually true. There's a concern that doing individual action will lead to something called the self-licensing effect, where we as individuals will give ourselves license to do something bad because we've done something good. Meaning that if you help out in the oceans, maybe you'll give yourself license to maybe skip on a few things of recycling. But not doing a good thing because you think it might lead you to not to do another good thing in the future is not an argument as to why you shouldn't do the good thing in the first place. There is also research that shows that it's just not true. If anything, contributing to individual action is actually something that will make you more likely to petition governments and NGOs and world-spanning organizations. Because if you do something, you're more likely to do more. And it is also the thing that is going to make other people also contribute. And that is because other people are more likely to take action if they see that you are taking action. And that's how, little by little, if enough of us contribute, maybe we can help just a little bit. And maybe that will help a whole lot more. So if you would like me care about the oceans, please consider supporting Team Seas using the link in the description, or if I figured out how to do it, there should be a link to the side. I'm not sure which side it is, but one of the sides, if it works. Otherwise, please go to the link in the description and help contribute. If you can't contribute, that's fine. Not everyone can do it. But maybe, you can share the campaign to someone who can. Or if you live close to the ocean or a river, go down. Maybe hang out for a little bit. Embrace the beauty of the oceans. Feel its love, its awesome power. And then when you leave, you can take some trash with you. Put it in the recycling. I'm doing this because I care about the oceans, and because the oceans, rivers, water and rain and everything is the very foundation of life on this earth. And I'd very much like it to be as clean as it possibly can.